Hello, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Sue Erhart. She is a writer who is the creator of the popular website Practical Spirituality. She helps people connect to their authentic selves through targeted courses and books that meet her readers where they are. She's also an executive for a Fortune 500 company. She's also a podcaster and coach. And her latest book, which is the topic of our conversation, is Lose Your Critic for Good, a step-by-step process for reclaiming your spirit. Available for pre-order on Amazon. So it'll be January 2025, right? So it will be out there.
The release date is January 14th of 2025, but it is available today for pre-order on all major sites where you buy books, including Amazon.
Wonderful. Thank you for that detail. So, I could just start asking lots of questions, but the full bio will be at the end. The question that I love to begin with is, how would you introduce yourself? Who is Sue in this very moment?
Well, I feel a little bit split because I will tell you I'm still in a full-time corporate career, which I do very enjoy, and it's been a big part of my life. But I'm also transitioning into this passion project that I started a couple years ago of really helping people connect with their authentic selves. And what's been really fun for me, Valeria, is that those worlds are starting to collide because I'm starting to find many, many people in the corporate arena who are hearing my messages that are on my Practical Spirituality website, and they're craving them. They are ready for them.
Wow. That sounds wonderful. It's inviting. I think it's something that speaks to all of us in a way. We are all, even those who already feel that they are living their authentic self, we wanted to explore more, that territory, that realm. So that's my very first question, besides of who you are. What is to be authentically yourself? What is the authentic self like?
Well, I think it's a process of unwinding all the conditioning that came from our caretakers and our parents and our childhoods. And as you unwind it, Valeria, I think that there are layers and layers of your authentic self. So I don't want to limit this or be a little bit too pat as if there's just this one little authentic self and then all these other ways I present are a false self. I really think that your authentic self and your authentic spirit is interwoven into all of these personas that you project onto the world. So there's a little bit of that authentic self in each persona you adopt. But if I had to say, what is the authentic self? I would say it's the me who loves and loves everyone. It's the me who doesn't really care what people think about me. It's the me who loves what she's doing, is interested in life, and is moving forward, not looking back. And it's the me who's genuine, who feels her feelings, says her opinions, and does so boldly with an expectation that all of her feelings and all of her thinkings are valid.
Wow. Yes, I love that. How did you start uncovering this idea of the authentic self for yourself? When did this begin?
So for me, I would say it started about early midlife. Okay, I spent a good part of my younger years pushing ahead in my career and working hard. I'm married and have children, so giving myself to others. And I think I reached a point midlife where life was good, but I really thought to myself, I want it to be great. I don't want it just to be good. And I really started on a spiritual journey that was self-led and explored a lot of different things and just came through it really finding that core essence to myself as the key to everything in life.
Yes. Is there a difference between the soul and the spirit? Do you find them to be one and the same or somewhat different?
Well, I'll first tell you that I think any words we use to describe this divinity reduce it, okay? Just like it just takes this great bigness and pulls it down into something small. So I struggle with that. I guess I see the soul as me, as my authentic core essence, and spirit as this great divinity that exists outside of me. So I don't think it's just me. There's more than me.
Yeah.
But I tend to use lots of different words for this divinity, kind of depending on the different places I am in my life. And I find great satisfaction in having lots of terms for spirit, God, universe, source.
Yes. So I was reading your book, Lose Your Critic for Good. A step-by-step process for reclaiming your spirit. What's not to love about that is spirit. That my attention just goes straight to the word spirit. And then you said one of the takeaways, I believe, it was you say the true you is way more fun than your critic. So that kind of, I had to make this a title of this episode because there's something about fun and playfulness and being light that kind of reflects that spirit that we are trying to explain here kind of with words. So, but this is one thing. The other thing is the word critic. And you mentioned in the book, the reason why you don't use inner critic. I heard it, I have interviewed a lot of people and I hear that all the time. And this term, this concept of the critic, but the word inner always came before the word critic. But in your case, you just removed that altogether. So talk to me the reason why you did that. I would love to know.
So I think those of us who have a critic and tend to, and by that I mean tend to self-criticize, tend to perseverate on things that went wrong or things that are wrong about us instead of the things that are correct, or even tend to criticize other people. Okay, we just tend to go to the negative. The reason I very purposely removed the word inner is that I think for many people who have the critic, they think that their inner wisdom is the critic and is there to be a taskmaster or to tell them that there's something wrong with them, or here's how they're not performing up to standards in life. And Valeria, I just strongly believe that is not true. When you truly tap into your inner wisdom, it is a voice of love. It is a voice of support. I find it to be a voice of great humor.
Yes, but you're right. And that kind of reminds me of the concept of intuition. When I ask the question here, what is intuition? That comes, I hear that answer all the time. It's playful, it's loving, it's fun. How do you see that? Is the inner wisdom, the soul, and the intuition one and the same, the heart even one and the same too?
I see them as all the same. And I really see my intuition really expresses to me in terms of interests, curiosities, wants, and passions. It's always something drawing me forward. And that interest might be something really small. It might be like a question in my head saying, oh, I want to learn more about this, or I want to understand more about this. That to me, those are whispers of your soul. And those are things that once you learn to tune into them, completely transform your life.
Yes. When I think about the soul, it feels like it's something separate from this core of what we are. And maybe that's why for so long I was not interested in, to kind of tapping more into the soul, because a lot of people would say, oh, if you tap into the soul, inner wisdom, then you will express yourself in a better way. You do more, maybe make more money, meet more people, do this. And that was almost like, to me, it was almost another way of losing myself, of becoming disconnected again with this place that I know it's already whole. So I'm not trying to be anything or become anything anymore. But then at some point, I felt like it was necessary to integrate in a way the soul again with, like what you said about passion, and become passionate again and curious and open about, other aspects of life, or or the game of life, the dreamlike reality of being a human, of being a person. So how do you see this idea of the soul? Is that something that if we ignore it, it keeps coming back in a way? Because I feel like it's coming back to me as a message.
I agree. I might use different words on that.
Yeah.
I would say if you're not listening, it's going to give you another chance. It is absolutely relentless in coming for you.
Yes.
And it is beautiful in its patience and its love and its kindness. And it just keeps coming and offering you new and different ways to get on your path.
That is interesting. And that's the path. Would you say that that's the destiny of body mind? Is that what it is? If you could describe what the soul is trying to do here, kind of direct the body mind to live its purpose?
So I'll just keep it really simple here, Valeria.
Yeah.
I think our purpose is to love. And that's really it. And how you choose to express that through this lifetime, through this body, and through this mind is entirely up to you. But you have these inner resources that are always drawing you, as I see it, away from fear and towards love. That's always the momentum. And I see those, and I talk about this in the book. I see fear and love as this continuum. And each of us are walking our own path on this continuum. And it's certainly my personal goal to always be taking the baby steps towards love in all areas of my life, and thereby moving away from fear in my life. And the book, what I try to do in the book is really take all of my most practical advice, because I am someone, I love spirituality, and I love learning about all different aspects of spirituality, but I need practical step-by-step directions. Yeah. If somebody tells me to go within, I want to know, tell me how I go within. I need to know that. And so that's what I've tried to share in the book, is a very practical way to get to this idea, which is very big, which is take a step towards love. What does that mean?
Yeah, wow. I'm still learning that path, because for some reason it's really not, it creates resistance, because I have been training the mind and the body to kind of be here now and being content and find this present moment to be the destination, to be everything that it is, without pushing away anything or expecting anything or wanting anything. Perhaps not too much. Maybe that's what I have been teaching it. But anyway, so they feels kind of almost like counterintuitive to kind of try to achieve something or become something with the body mind. But it's not, right? From your perspective, it's just something that's natural to the body mind.
I would say not only is it natural, but again, so I hold a belief that I'm an eternal being, as I think the same of you. And so with someone with eternity in front of her, I would say two things are always true. I am where I am right now, and there's always more in front of me. And I think that manifests in our life in a very normal way, which is great appreciation for where we are and a presence of where we are, and at the same time, holding desires for more. I just think that's a core spiritual concept. I don't think wanting more is a negative. I think it is the natural byproduct of being an eternal being and of being a lover of life. And if I want to, if I'll give an example, I've never had a great day, and then I woke up the next day and said, well, I had a great day yesterday. I hope this one is less so. No,
right.
I want to have a great day or more. I think that's just very natural. And I'd even say it's rational if you understand yourself as an eternal being. There's always more ahead of you.
Yeah. So I love the way you describe the spirit-led life. So you say it's a life full of power, confidence, clarity, and joy. A life of abundance, excitement, satisfaction, and love. A life of good ideas, infinite inspiration, and frivolous fun. A life that unfolds rather than drives for results. I mean, beautifully said, the way you put this. And then you say so many things that I love the takeaways. I love reading, I know some people don't, and then they just go for the, whatever it's easy to just absorb or to relate to. But you have so many of them there that I have way too many here that caught my attention. One of them is about daydreams. And I like the way you said that. Over the top daydreams sneak past the critic. Talk to me about the importance of daydreaming.
Mm-hmm. So I think so many of us who have a critic or seem to live our lives checking in with others and checking in with standards or doing what we think we should. That's what I see as the critic mentality. Some of us tend to get maybe a little bit rigid in our thinking and tend to be, I would say we also tend to be analytical type people. Okay. Yeah. So we spend a lot of time up in our head. So what I teach in the book is, first of all, how to daydream. And then second of all, the point of it. But daydreaming for an analytical person often has to start with where they are today and then making up stories about how that day could be better. And I teach through that. But daydreaming to me, I literally see daydreaming as a form of prayer. And it's me with my mind and with my body and my feelings communicating to the divine the things that I enjoy, the things that I want, the things that I would love to experience. And so I see it as an act of creation and an act of communication with the divine. And it's just something that so many of us who are living with the critic fail to do.
Right. Oh my God. So it's so true. I love daydreaming, especially lately for some reason. So it's funny that you mentioned that. I'm like, yeah, that's perfect. That's it. And that's funny. A friend of mine from Germany, he said that. One day he called and I didn't answer the phone and he said, "Oh, are you daydreaming?" In a way, almost like, not in a good way, he said that. So, and I'm like, yes, I am. That's a good thing. Mm-hmm. So I heard about, you probably have heard about this too, that God wants us to be good dreamers. Life itself, the divine, because this reality has been created per se from dreams. So we have been imagining and dreaming and, from dreams it became action. And that's why we see the reality the way we see on earth. So the better dreamers we become, the better reality we'll see, this physical reality especially. That's how I see it. Does it make sense to you, Sue, that kind of a perspective?
Absolutely. I personally see God as riding shotgun right along with me in this life. Yeah. And, God's seen a lot of things and been around for a long time. So I've got to imagine that God is up for some excitement and some fun and some joy and some happiness and some love. And so I see that my daydreaming and offering that up is a gift right back to the divine.
Yeah. I love the way you said that. And then something else, you said something, one of the takeaways, I don't have the day here, what day it was, but you said project plans are a fun way to plan, but not your best way to work. Talk to me about that for a moment.
So, again, every chapter of my book has a discrete exercise that I teach that helps you break free of the critic and then really connect with your authentic self. So one of the things I teach is about goal setting and then creating a project plan. And here's what I mean. If you had a goal to go on a vacation at someplace and you wanted to plan for that, you might sit down with your limited mind and you would set out a project plan, and it might be researching hotels and deciding what to do. Yeah. And this is something that a lot of analytical people enjoy doing. You make the project plan and you plan out all the phases and you say the things you're going to do. I do this often for my goals, but here's what I do. I take that project plan and with an intent held at my heart, I say, this is one way this journey could go. I bet there are many better ways that this could go. And then I throw away the project plan.
Wow.
I just trash it and I start to live my life. I hold the intent for my goal, but I live my life intuitively. And I've just seen, first of all, tremendous success operating this way. And I've also seen that always there's a better way than the way that my limited mind can think of how to get from point A to point B.
So that relates very much intuition. That relates very much to, you see, those whispers of the soul, right? That's the soul talking to us. Yes. And I've been living an intuitive life for a long time now. But I also see that it gives me instructions a lot of times. They are not clear, or they're not linear in any way. But then they require action though. So I'm wondering, and I'm trying to, like, speaking of practicality, how do we learn to put those pieces together? Because they seem to come, every day I have a piece of intuitive kind of inspiration from the same project. There's a project that I'm working on now, and I know there's a lot of ways of doing it, but how do I get to the point of seeing the big picture and actually putting a team together and having that plan, as you spoke, how can I have a plan? If I throw them in the trash, then I don't have the plan anymore. Then I don't know the steps to follow. Is that something that you really recommend, not to write it down and follow the steps, or just write it down and listen?
I truly say throw it away and listen to your own guidance in the day. You don't forget, though, the overarching plan. I mean, you still remember that you want to go on a vacation. You still know that there are things that need to happen, but you might work on them in an order that a rational person would say, well, that's silly that you're doing it in that order, but you work according to your intuition. And I'll give you a very specific example.
Yeah.
So I wrote the book, Lose Your Critic for Good, and the book was complete. And you'd think at that point that I would be working on editing the book, getting the book ready for publication. I was very excited about the book. But what happened is that I became more excited about another book. And so I then spent all of my time, my free time outside of my job, writing the second book before my first book had even been read by another human being. So I think a lot of people would have said, well, that's irrational. That's not a logical way to work. But I followed my intuition and I leaned into my excitement, and it was a great experience for me.
Wow. Talk to me about the second book. So if you can.
Sure. I'll quickly. So the working title of it is Dream Big, a Manual for Midlife. And truly, it is my call to fellow midlifers, who are particularly those who might be waiting for retirement to begin living, to get them to start daydreaming and doing things that prepare them to live the next phase of their life more joyful and more spiritually aligned than maybe they are now. And this book really came out of, I see so many people of my age group who have children, and they are telling their children to follow their dreams, follow their heart, do what makes them happy, all while those parents are living so lives. And so this is really my call to action to midlifers, to start practicing what they preach to their children.
And another thing that you said, another takeaway, I don't remember the date, it's about emotions. You say all emotions are helpful. Use your emotions to discover what you are thinking. Interesting that you said that way, to discover what you are thinking. I never heard it that way before. I would love to hear more about the connection between emotions and the critic and living this spirit-led life.
So I think emotions are this perfect gift of the divine to help us see where our thinking is. And our thinking is always something that's in our control. So if I'm feeling frustrated with a situation, that frustration is a direct result of what my thinking expectation is around what's happening. And I always have the ability to change within me what I think or what I expect. So in that way, I can alleviate my own frustration, which, by the way, feels very powerful when you're able to do that.
Right.
So I really, in the book, encourage you to sit with your emotions and learn from your emotions, because so many of us with a critic mentality actually think our emotions are bad. And we particularly have issues around anger Many of us were taught young that anger was not an acceptable emotion.
Right.
And I want to encourage everyone to bring your emotions forward, even if you do it in the privacy of a room where you are alone. Bring your emotions forward, but then let them show you what you are thinking, because that is always within your power and control.
What would be an example of that? Are emotions, specific emotions, connected to specific kinds of thinking? For example, anger. Do you make that connection, or it could be it's very personal?
So my connection would be when I'm angry, it's normally that I hold a thought, an expectation of a person or situation that they are not capable of meeting.
Yeah.
That's how that typically works for me. When I am annoyed with another person, it generally means to me that I have some form of a limiting belief and I'm projecting it out onto that other person. That works for me. And when I feel sad, it's simply showing me something that I loved that I'm now missing. That's all.
Oh, wow. I love that. Yeah. And you also talk about statements. Finding your why statements is a powerful exercise designed to unleash your inner spirit. I love the way you said that too. I mean, this word spirit is so powerful, isn't it? To me, it just keeps, it's like a calling. It keeps calling me in every way. So talk to me about the why statements. I know I don't have the book in front of me, but I know you had lots of them, examples in the book.
So I think a powerful exercise, and I teach this in the book, is to take something you want, a goal that you hold in your life, and to sit and write out every why statement to support that goal. So let's just use a very simple example. If I wanted to buy a boat, that would be my top level goal. I want to buy a boat. But I would sit and come up with every reason. And the why statement could be, I would like to go tubing with my grandchildren, and that's why I want to buy a boat. Yeah. Another reason could be, I want to take sunset cruises with my spouse. But we all have this deep well of why statements that support everything we want. Right. And going through a process of excavating those why statements, first of all, is highly revealing. It's who you truly are. It's what you truly want. It's all there. But the second thing that I try to teach people is that once you unearth those why statements, often you can achieve satisfaction of those why statements without the top level goal. You don't need to buy a boat in order to have fulfilling moments with your grandchildren or your spouse. So it's really using and leveraging those why statements to have a more joyful life.
I guess connecting with this idea of the why is the intention. You said something that I never heard before. Staying open is about intention. Set an intention to stay open. So, this play here. So staying open is about intention. And so set an intention to stay open. So it's all about being open. You see, because intention is a big one when it comes to spiritual work. That's what I hear all the time. Even my meditations, I do yoga nidra. I do a lot of kinds of yogas and meditation kinds. And they talk about intention a lot. And I always set one in the beginning. So what you're suggesting here is that we stay open instead. That should be our main intention. Is that correct? What I understood, Sue?
Yes, it is.
Wow. That goes back to the unfolding, like how playful life is, intuition, the spirit is not about anything fixed. It's all about expansion, freedom itself. It goes back to freedom. It's amazing.
And let me talk a little bit more about what I mean by staying open.
Yeah.
So I think all of us, as we go about our days, have moments where we sort of feel relaxed and open and accepting of what's in front of us. Yeah. And then we have other times where we tense up and come in. And often people who have a critic are very much tense and in and very honed in on what other people think of them, what the external standards are, what's expected of them. And my encouragement is to release that hold and to move into a state of openness and away from that tight hold on those external standards.
Yes. So you mentioned, if I can recall, maybe paraphrasing you, I won't remember all the words, but you talked about trusting yourself. That's really very important, because by trusting yourself, ourselves, then we open this door, right, to being open and losing the critic. That's easier that way. But this is not would you say that that would be the first step in a way? The first, if we, as a prayer, and the way you say it's beautiful, as a prayer, just to trust oneself. Whatever we do, engage with, just sit and trust. Is that a good way to see that, to
I
contemplate that?
I think an intention to trust yourself is always helpful and something to set, but I think trust is earned over days of showing up for yourself, sitting with yourself, letting emotions come forward, confronting your own thinking, and
Yeah.
then just being present and available for spirit to work through you. So the book, the entire goal of my book is to teach people exercises so that they learn to trust themselves. So that by the end of the book, you've done the work, you've shown up for yourself, you've gotten to know yourself, and thereby you stand in a place of trust with yourself.
Yes. And then also you said something interesting about the inner work. You say inner work, it's easy and it's always loving. So easy. I hear quite the opposite from a lot of people. And well, I think I never said that myself. I probably did. Yeah, probably did. Oh, it's not that easy. So why do we have the tendency to think that way, that inner work, healing work, it's not easy. It's just hard work, and I won't even get started because it's so hard.
I think many people assume that inner work means going into a mindset of judgment, particularly harsh judgment, and ferreting out the things that you've done wrong according to someone else's standard, and then holding you accountable. And I think inner work is me taking a prior version of myself where maybe I did disappoint myself or took an action that I now regret, and simply still loving myself. Sitting and saying, I do regret that action, and still I love myself. That's the easy part. I think we make it harder because we're using our brains that tend to go into judgment.
So that's what it is. Yeah. Judgment, the critic again, it's always there, and then it makes it harder. Or makes it hard. So this is really inspiring. Yeah. Inner work, it's easy and it's always loving. That's truly inspiring for all of us, as a reminder too. And then you said, of course, meditation is one of the suggestions. Start with the habit of 1 minute meditations. Gosh, see, it's also sounds very easy to do, and I wonder why so many people don't engage in meditation. I notice, well, especially people that come from trauma. It is my case, so I was always like pushing that away, perhaps because I couldn't really, maybe I couldn't be with the critic. It was too much. So what is your suggestion for those specific people with trauma, PTSD, and so on?
Yeah. That's why I recommend the 1 minute. I mean, truly, and using it throughout your day. You can take a moment. I mean, I sit in meetings and corporate work that sometimes are not very engaging, and I take a moment to literally imagine my awareness going down into my body and just sitting there, and just letting that be. Letting the thoughts come forward. I think so many people who have the critic also have perfectionist tendencies. And so when they go to meditate, they have this lofty idea of some perfect meditation. And in my view, there is no perfect meditation. The point of meditation is that your mind wanders and then you bring it back home. And you come back to your core, and your mind wanders again, and you bring it back home. And the only thing that matters is that you come home at the end. And to me, that's what meditation is. And many perfectionists struggle with that.
Yes. When it comes to meditation, I noticed that what I do is now I just let everything come and go. My main objective, the main goal, it's really to witness the movements of the mind. So without even trying to go home, as you say. So, but with that in mind, which I think is also sounds like a prayer to me, what would that be like when it comes to meditation? What is home?
To me, home is where instead of my mind wandering all over, and I think of it literally outside of me, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
It's me bringing that awareness, that attention that is me, down into my body and into my core and letting it rest there and just rest. That's home to me. Is inside within me. That's where that inner wisdom, you connect to it. That's where you find it. And when you are listening to the critic, you're listening to something outside of you. You're listening to an external standard. You're listening to something you were told as a child. I mean, there's all these externals. And the more you can disconnect from those, even 1 minute at a time, and connect into your body, you are loosening the hold of the critic and you are finding your inner wisdom.
Yeah. And then there's something else that you said about, there's so many things, amazing things. You say unconditional love is free and has no conditions to access it. That sounds like another, you see, a starting point for everything, just unconditionally loving ourselves. Yeah, I can put it that way. You know, I heard from somebody, I think it was a psychologist, who said, all of us children, as children, we were unconditionally loved, then this reality would be completely different. Would be so much more loving in general. We would just be more loving towards one another. Is that something that you also believe to be true or see some truth?
I see some truth in it, but I'll tell you what, I love life as it is. I think there's great satisfaction, great fun, and great experience in overcoming challenges and maybe starting out with a few things going sideways for you and then finding your way through and finding that you have the inner resources to get through that. So I don't mean to downplay trauma at all and say like, oh, this is a good thing. I only mean to say, I think that a divine mind has designed these lives for us and is well aware that many of us come into situations that might be challenging, but yet there still are all the resources there for us to find our inner wisdom and to find our power once again.
I would love for you to read it though. Did you have your book with you? So like the very end where you say, what I want you to know is this. And then you start talking. And it's just beautiful that.
What I want you to know is this. Your inner wisdom is wise beyond her years. Your inner voice is loving, kind, and fun. Your inner knowing is strong, confident, and sure. Your inner guidance is positive, exciting, and forward-looking. Your inner being is a bundle of energy waiting to escape once you fire the jailer that kept you small. Your critic has held you hostage, and it's time for you to set yourself free.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that prayer. It sounds like a guided meditation. Yes, yeah. I love the way you put it. You're a beautiful writer too. The words that you choose.
Thank you.
Yeah, the bundle of energy. Waiting to escape. I love that. It's a lot. It's fun.
It is.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. So this is like this is a message for all of us, really, because as we talked in the beginning, it's an unfolding kind of experience to be here in a body. So there's no destinations really. It doesn't feel that way. It's when we think we got somewhere, then it's just the beginning of something else. It's just fascinating. But then you also talked about that the inner critic, or the critic, would come back on occasion. So that's something that a lot of people also see. Again, we think about destinations. We get a book like yours and then we read with the hope that we'll get there somewhere. We'll just get rid of the critic and never see it again. So talk to me for a moment before we almost at the end, and I do have the ending questions, and then I want to mention something else. But what about if it comes back? You wrote about that.
It's going to come back. Look, we live in a society of judgments and standards and other people's opinions. And if you want to live in the world, you're going to bump into those things.
Right.
I've done years and years of this work, and I still feel self-conscious when I show up at the beach. So yes, those are normal things. And what I coach and show people to do is you just get ahead of it. We all know the places where we're extra sensitive, a person who really brings out our worst traits, or a place where we feel very insecure, and you just get out ahead of it and practice. I mean, so what I want to say, the perfectionist tendency wants to kill the critic and say it's never happening again. And that's just not life. Life ebbs and flows back and forth so beautifully. And let that critic flare on occasion and then learn from it.
Yes, that's it.
Yes.
So you write books and you have them, they are on your website. You have more than one, actually. This is one that will be released in January 14th, if I can recall. But then you have other books on your website. You also host a podcast titled Spiritual, is that Practical Spirituality?
Practical Spirituality.
Yes. And then you have courses, one-on-one coaching as well. Everything is on your website, SueErhart.com. Did I miss anything? So any of your services?
Nope. And the book's available for pre-order, even though it's not available till January.
Yes. And the link will be here on the podcast notes as well, Amazon link. So before we say goodbye for today, before my last question, is there anything that you left unsaid?
No, Valeria, this was a wonderful conversation.
Oh, I feel the same way. I love these conversations. They are like seeds to me of a beautiful garden of joy, as I call it, that place. So before we say goodbye, I usually ask this question to everyone because this platform is titled The Freedom to Feel for a reason. But I'll ask you this open question about freedom. What is freedom to you? How do you see this concept of freedom?
So to me, the ultimate freedom is the freedom to think what I want. And for me, that means I get to choose what I believe. I get to choose what I give my attention to. I get to choose the topics that I want to think about, and no one can touch that. That is part of my core essence, is what I choose to think. And I try to teach others, as well as teach my children, to take responsibility for what they think. Yes, we all are subject to some pre-programming that we received as a child, but yes, we are all adults who can do the work to change what we think over time.
Yes, gosh. So freedom, responsibility. Yeah, they come hand in hand. Thank you so much for your wise, beautiful presence in this reality, Sue. It's just wonderful to see human beings doing this work that doesn't feel like work to them. Every time I read, their books and their messages, just, again, it feels like a prayer, as you said. That's what it feels to me, a guided meditation, a song. It's just beautiful. So thank you so much for being life itself. Thank you.
Same to you. Thank you.
And we'll talk again. Take good care of your beautiful self for now. We'll be in touch again. Bye, Sue.
Goodbye.